Welcome everyone back to Pommy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Can't thank you enough for the support so far in 2024. You're all geniuses in my book. You can become a member. Link is in the description. It's the first link there. So if you are on Android, you're going to have to use that. I had a few people PM me, sorry, iPhone, that they can't click the button below. That's an iPhone issue. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Price of a coffee. But we're here. Let's do the 5 things we learnt as a football club in our tremendous victory against GWS this week. And let's start off with the 2 Jets of the competition. Patrick Cripps and Mr. Sam Walsh conspiring 39 and 35 touches, nearly 1,000 metres gained, 4 goal assists, nearly just under 20 clearances together, 11 tackles. These guys were literally everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And part of our turnaround from the second half was these 2 gentlemen just really coming in and really setting the standard. And it's really pleasing to see that Sam Walsh and Cripps have got this synergy. I don't think we have had this probably since like Judd and Prime Murphy. 2 players at their pomp, at their circumstance, dominating games for this football club. And it's great to see them play together. They have such a synergy. And it has to be said, 2 different styles of games this week from both of the lads. Walsh was a lot more in the ball playing role, the role that we'd expect to see someone like Chera when he plays. He thrived in it. Less defensive responsibility, really getting us on the impetus. Cripps and Hewitt backing him up in that defensive part of it, and they were dominant. And I think the big part for me was seeing Cripps as a leader. A lot of people going on about the Adelaide game, and I think the big thing about the Adelaide game is once we got 16 points ahead, we started to sit back and really hemorrhage ourselves in inside defensive 50. To see Cripps take that defensive mark in D50 and scream at his defence. Lewis Young cops a spray, but streaming to say, get ahead of the ball, give me some options. Really shows Cripps as a leader that he's learned from the errors. He watched that tape, you can tell, and then he really possessed and got the learnings in game. They are phenomenal footballers, and the longer that them 2 stay fit and play games together, the more that synergy creates. You add Chera to that, who I think naturally plays well with Cripps, naturally plays with Hewitt. Just got to find a way to fit him in, which I think based on what I saw Jack Carroll when he pinched it there, Chera is another league to Carroll. We've got a really exciting complement there, and it's no surprise we dominated from stoppage and clearance. Them 2 with that real synergy there, and the way they worked off TDK and Pitternet this week, they really worked it out. And it was a return to the old school approach at stoppages. I say old school last year, of that brick wall of Cripps, Hewitt and Pitternet streaming forward as soon as they hit out or the stoppage has begun. And then Walsh darting in, looking for that handball received. And it was really, really strong and really poignant. And the Blues will look at that and go, these 2 players here, if we can keep them fit and we can get them in games, you're always a chance, especially with the towers at the top. Do you know what I mean? Always a chance. Number 2, the balanced scoring. And I was really impressed with Carlton really going back to what they know. And it's interesting. The turnover game really started to come in the second half. But this week, 62 points from stoppage, 41 of them are centre clearances and 55 from turnover this week. And that really showed Blues' ability to get them. When they got them 8 in a row, it really showed. But when that pressure got up, the turnover game is natural. And it really saw this week, and we saw it slightly last week, it just didn't quite pay off. What Voss is trying to do with that onus on the turnover game, that is caused by that high defensive line. But when the pressure is good in the forward half, it doesn't matter, because suddenly you almost effectively shorten the ground by 20 metres. And what I mean by that, if the pressure is really high early, where them kicks from Adelaide out the back, they're actually about 65 away from goal. And that is the plan. It's a real big commitment, though, on your forward half. And the boys really did it. And big players here, Matty Cottrell, Elijah Hollands, Matty Owens really helped with this. Blake Acres playing that deeper role. And we saw Ollie Hollands really thriving this week after a lot of malignment, really, from the fan base with Ollie. This is where he excels, and they switched him to a different wing this week, which he went onto the right wing. And that really showcased that Blake Acres' strength is probably more of how he works defensively and offensively. The right wing is more of our attacking wing. And we really saw that benefit and pay some fruit because we started to get some darts inside 50, particularly from Walsh and particularly from our boy Ollie Hollands. And that's a really good thing because this year Carlton have scored 30 points from their defensive half, 46 points from their forward half and 41 points on average in the centre bounce. And that really showcases there where the Blues are looking to focus it. It's really nice and balanced. And that is probably why, even though we've played bad, you could probably argue we didn't play brilliant against Richmond. You could argue that we didn't play well against Fremantle and Adelaide. And certainly in the first half here, the reason is because our system is so solid that it's hard to put away. Because there is many ways to skin a cat, and that was a real good thing for me to see. I was really proud with that, and that is a big takeaway from me. We're starting to build a balanced side. So these players can come in, and the roles are already sorted. The application is already sorted. Now it's just getting them 1%ers to be a real dominant team. But this is as dominant as a performance as you'll see against a top side. And I think Voss will be validated in that second half. This is what he's about. This is the blue collar Blues. Number 3, 2 rucks. Well, this is the greatest discussion in the world, but why did 2 rucks work this week and it didn't work that last week? 1, Pittenet's first game back could be an argument, but 2, I really liked how Voss has stuck to his guns. TDK rests in the forward half of the ground. Mark Pittenet rests behind the ball. And we saw Mark Pittenet come up with some big defensive plays in this game, but also his score launch ability from this stoppage, and especially clearance, shouldn't be understated because both him and TDK do that. TDK a little bit different. He likes to take the ball and run it on and handball. Pittenet just gets the ball going forward, which forces the forward line to enact that pressure. You saw that quite a few times in the third when he just puts his peg on it and it goes forward. The forwards have to be there putting that pressure on, and so do the mids. And it really is like a metronome effect. But seeing Pittenet swing down the back really helps with his lack of mobility. I mean, we can't make him Pittenet. We can't make Pittenet gone. We can't make Pittenet Brodie Grundy. It's impossible because that's who he is. What we can make him is very good at what he does. And you saw that there, that bigger body, it really caused a bit of chaos, particularly in the running lanes of Jesse Hogan. It would have been interesting if Carlton had enacted this against Taylor Walker, because he did get a couple of frees as well from just being in that area and taking that bump from behind. So that's a very smart play by Carlton. And TDK forward of the ground, giving us that third option. The way he floated, and now he's getting that confidence with the marks. This potentially could work. Obviously, I hear you. It's one game, Pommy. Last week it didn't work. This week it did. But there is fruits there, and there is some endeavour to keep persevering with it, because there's no surprise to me that the centre clearance and the stoppage did increase. It's going to be interesting how that looks, because I do feel like we need another runner in this team. I don't think Jack Carroll's the one at the moment. It's going to be interesting. Is that a Jackson Binns? Is that an Alex Cincotta? Watching Cincotta's game in the VFL this week, his hard two-way running, that probably helps in that first quarter, stop that first quarter, because we were quite flat-footed at times, and there was so much space between the lines. And that's not Pittenet's fault, but that is how they rove to him, but also how they manufacture that structurally. But very interesting. Number 4, the first quarter. And the first quarter for me is one that you really want to look back, and you'll learn a lot about this club. Now, my question with this fourth quarter, we seem to see it quite a lot with the Blues as well. Is the first quarter bad because they're trying to feel them out and they're trying to work it out, right? Or is it something as simple as the pressure? And you've only got to look at the pressure. That was the lowest recorded pressure for this game. The Blues were really down in the 156. That is poor. They were also down until about the 20-minute mark of the second, when the Blues blew the game open a little bit and pulled it back by rising to that 200 again. And it's almost like we're slow out of the blocks. But what I did enjoy is they kind of made it hard. There was a lot of kicks. When you watch how GWS were playing, there was a lot of disposals for them marks, and probably needless at times. But that is probably where we need to get a little bit smarter, because our conversion in the first quarter is almost like we've never played football, because I watched that first half again and I was like, Curnow kicks them goals, Carlton go into that 12 ahead. Do you know what I mean? We take our chances, and you'd be looking at that game and going, how? And that is the next thing. But it did remind me a lot of Hawthorn's dynasty. And what I mean by that is, do you remember Hawthorn in their dynasty year? You could have 2 quarters where you played football like you've never played before. Like you're applauding them off the ground. You're getting the tattoo at half time. And then you'd look at the score and you'd be like, we're 7 ahead. And we've absolutely had a blinder. That is what really excites me. But that first quarter is probably where you can probably control the game a little bit from the Blues. You don't really want to be having to go to 260 to drag the game back. Just because you can doesn't mean you will. So that's probably something that maybe flipping that. But that third quarter is insane, let's be honest. I mean, I'll forgive them a first quarter, but they were in it. I just feel like if they were a bit closer to the ball, a lot more corralling acts would have been good in that one. And we talked about the pressure, number 5, 260 pressure. For a large portion of the third quarter, Carlton were at 260, which effectively is impossible to play football. When you're in that 200 plus, it ain't happening. I don't care who you are, you ain't playing football. I don't care if you're... Name me a team from the past, right? But in that quarter 3... they had 242 for 15 solid minutes in the second half of the third, which the Blues put on a staggering 8 goals on that area. And that just shows you how good they are. Suddenly that short, sharp, crisp ball movement and that run and carry disapparated from GWS. And if the Blues can do that, and we're seeing 200s regularly, do you know what I mean? You see 200s at the moment more than you see adverts for maths from the Blues at the moment. And honestly, I've never watched maths, but Mrs. Pom is a sucker for ads. And it's amazing to see. We're really enacting that pressure. If we can bring that, like, honestly, I fear if we bring that a first quarter, what could happen? I reckon you could see a huge blowout from the Blues. But all in all, I am incredibly happy. It's probably the proudest I've been of the boys, because that was a tough ask. With all the outs, it shouldn't be understated that these players that were much maligned in the last couple of weeks really came to play football. Huge shout out to Nick Newman as well and Jordan Boyd. I thought they were massive role changes for them, and they absolutely were exemplary all the way. Really impressive. I'm super happy. Let me know in your comments your learnings from this game. It's very important that when you win and when you lose that you always learn. So I love doing this show, but let me know what you think of it. Peace, love and light. Pom out.
I see her rolling up over black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad.